Time to make more deals behind closed doors, and it is not the time to hand out breaks for one favored group at the expense of everyone else. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor and note the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Alexander.
Hello, everybody. Well, it is great to be in Georgia. Great to be in Decatur. You know, I can't imagine a more romantic way to spend Valentine's Day than with all of you, with all the press here. And actually, Michelle says hello. She made me promise to get back in time for our date tonight. That's important. That's important. I've already got a gift. Got the flowers. I was telling folks the flowers are a little easier, though, because I got this rose garden. A lot of people, you know, keeping flowers around. I want to acknowledge a few people who are here. First of all, Congressman Hank Johnson is here. There's Hank. Your mayor, Jim Baskett, is here. Another mayor you may know, Kasim Reed, snuck in here. I want to acknowledge the Decatur School Board, who I had a chance to meet and has helped to do so much great work around here. So, folks right here. And, of course, I want to thank Mary for the wonderful introduction and for teaching me how to count earlier today. You know, I've got to tell you, it was wonderful to be there. I want to thank all the teachers and the parents and the administrators of Decatur City Schools, because behind every child who is doing great, there's a great teacher. And I'm proud of every single one of the work that you do here today. Now, on Tuesday, I delivered my State of the Union address, and I laid out a plan for reigniting what I believe is the true engine of America's economic growth, and that is a thriving, growing, rising middle class. And that also means ladders for people to get into the middle class. And the plan I put forward says we need to make smart choices as a country, both to grow our economy, shrink our deficits in a balanced way, by cutting what we don't need, but then investing in the things that we do need to make sure that everybody has a chance to get ahead in life. What we need is to make America a magnet for new jobs by investing in manufacturing and energy and better roads and bridges and schools. We've got to make sure hard work's rewarded with a wage that you can live on and raise a family on. We need to make sure that we've got shared responsibility for giving every American the chance to earn the skills and education that they need for a really competitive global job market. As I said on Tuesday night, that education has to start at the earliest possible age, and that's what you have realized here in Decatur. Study after study shows that the earlier a child begins learning, the better he or she does down the road. But here's the thing, we are not doing enough to give all of our kids that chance. The kids we saw today that I had a chance to spend time with in Mary's classroom, they're some of the lucky ones. Because fewer than 3 in 10 4-year-olds are enrolled in a high-quality preschool program. Most middle-class parents can't afford a few $100 a week for private preschool. And for the poor children who need it the most, the lack of access to a great preschool education can have an impact on their entire lives. And we all pay a price for that. And as I said, this is not speculation. Study after study shows the achievement gap starts off very young. Kids who, when they go into kindergarten, their first day, if they already have a lot fewer vocabulary words, they don't know their numbers and their shapes, and have the capacity for focus, they're going to be behind that first day. And it's very hard for them to catch up over time. And then at a certain point, I'll bet a lot of teachers have seen this, kids aren't stupid. When they know they're behind at a certain point, and then they start pulling back. And they act like they're disinterested in school because they're frustrated that they're not doing as well as they should, and then you may lose them. And that's why on Tuesday night, I proposed working with states like Georgia to make high-quality preschool available to every child in America. Every child. Every dollar we invest in high-quality early education can save more than $7 later on. Boosting graduation rates, reducing teen pregnancy, reducing violent crime. In states like Georgia that have made it a priority to educate our youngest children, states like Oklahoma, students don't just show up in kindergarten, first grade more prepared to learn, they're also more likely to grow up reading and doing math at grade level, graduating from high school, holding a job, even forming more stable families. You know, hope is found in what works. This works. We know it works. If you're looking for a good bang for your educational buck, this is it, right here. So, that's why even in times of tight budgets, states like Georgia and Oklahoma have worked to make a preschool slot available for nearly every parent who's looking for one for their child. And they're being staffed with folks like Mary, qualified, highly educated teachers. This is not babysitting. All right? This is teaching. So at the age that our children are just sponges, soaking stuff in. Their minds are growing fastest. What we saw in the classroom here today was, kids are taught numbers, they're taught shapes, but also how to answer questions, discover patterns, play well with others. And the teachers who are in the classroom, they've got a coach, who's coming in and working with them on best practices and paying attention to how they can constantly improve what they're doing. And that whole playing well with others, by the way, is a trait we could use more in Washington. So maybe we need to bring the teachers up. Every once in a while have some quiet time. Time out. So at the College Heights Early Childhood Learning Center that I visited earlier today, nearly 200 little kids are spending full days learning in classrooms with highly qualified teachers. And so I was working with them to build towers and replicate sculptures and sing songs. And look, I got to admit, I was not always the fastest guy on some of this stuff. The kids were beating me to the punch. But through this interactive learning, they're learning math, writing, how to tell stories. And one of the things that you've done here in Decatur that's wonderful also is that you've combined kids from different income levels. You've got disabled kids all in the same classroom, so we're all learning together. And what that means is that all the kids are being leveled up, right? And you're not seeing some of that same stratification that you see that eventually leads to these massive achievement gaps. So before you know it, these kids are going to be moving on to bigger and better things in kindergarten. And they're going to be better prepared to succeed. And what's more, I don't think you'll find a working parent in America who wouldn't appreciate the peace of mind that their child is in a safe, high-quality learning environment every single day. You know, Michelle and I remember how tough it can be to find good child care. I remember how expensive it can be, too. The size of your paycheck, though, shouldn't determine your child's future. So let's fix this. Let's make sure none of our kids start out the race of life already a step behind. Let's make it a national priority to give every child access to a high-quality early education. Let's give our kids that chance. Now, I do have to warn the parents who are here who still have young kids. They grow up to be like 5'10", and even if they're still nice to you, they basically don't have a lot of time for you during the weekends. They have sleepovers and dates. So all that early investment just leads them to go away. Now, what I also said on Tuesday night is that our commitment to our kids' education has to continue throughout their academic lives. So from the time our kids start grade school, we need to equip them with the skills they need to compete in a high-tech economy. That's why we're working to recruit and train 100,000 new teachers in the fields of the future, in science and technology and engineering and math, where we are most likely to fall behind. We've got to redesign our high schools so that a diploma puts our kids on a path to a good job. You know, we want to reward schools that develop new partnerships with colleges and employers and create classes that focus on science and technology and engineering and math, all the things that can help our kids fill those jobs that are there right now, but also in the future. And obviously, once our kids graduate from high school, we've got to make sure that skyrocketing costs don't price middle-class families out of a higher education or saddle them with unsustainable debt. I mean, some of the younger teachers who are here, they've chosen a career path that is terrific, but let's face it, you know, you don't go into teaching to get rich. And it is very important that we make sure that they can afford to get a great education and can choose to be a teacher, can choose to be in a teaching profession. So we've worked to make college more affordable for millions of students and families already through tax credits and grants and loans that go farther than before. But taxpayers can't keep subsidizing ever-escalating price tags for higher education. At some point, you'd run out of money. So colleges have to do their part. And colleges that don't do enough to keep costs in check should get less federal support so that we're incentivizing colleges to think about how to keep their costs down. And just yesterday, we released what we're calling a new college scorecard that gives parents and students all the information they need to compare schools by value and affordability so that they can make the best choice. And any interested parent, by the way, who's out there, can check it out at whitehouse.gov. You know, now, in the end, that's what this is all about, giving our kids the best possible shot at life, equipping them with the skills, education that a 21st century economy demands, giving them every chance to go as far as their hard work and God-given potential will take them. That's not just going to make sure that they do well. That will strengthen our economy and our country for all of us. Because if their generation prospers, if they've got the skills they need to get a good job, that means businesses want to locate here. And it also means, by the way, they're well-equipped as citizens with the critical thinking skills that they need in order to help guide our democracy. We'll all prosper that way. That's what we're fighting for. They're the ones who are going to write that next great chapter in the American story, and we've got to make sure that we're providing that investment. I'm so proud of every single teacher who was here who has dedicated their lives to making sure those kids get a good start in life. I want to make sure that I'm helping, and I want to make sure that the country is behind you every step of the way. All right? Thank you, everybody. God bless you. God bless America. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Senator from Kansas.
Mr. President, thank you. I ask the quorum call be lifted.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to address the Senate as if in morning hour.
Without objection.
Mr. President, thank you. Another sad occasion in Kansas. A week ago this past Sunday, the Wichita community was struck by the tragic news that Randy and Susie Storms were killed in a fatal car accident in East Wichita. Randy and Susie were traveling home from visiting a friend at a local hospital when Randy experienced a health problem while driving, which led to a devastating accident. Randy and Susie were very well known and very well loved in the Wichita community for more than 30 years. Their care and compassion for those in difficult circumstances shaped how they lived their lives. Randy had a special gift for connecting with those who were struggling, perhaps because he knew how difficult life could be. As a teenager, Randy suffered a spinal injury which forced him to live as a quadriplegic. Resolved to make his faith in Jesus the core of his identity and not his physical disability, Randy chose to invest in his life in caring for others. Shortly after high school, Randy began to serve on the staff of Young Life, a Christian organization that mentors and works with young people. His position at Young Life was a springboard to reaching a wider Wichita community. Over the years, Randy became a counselor and a friend to countless pastors, community leaders, young adults, and everyone else who was in need of a friend. Jen Shively, who served with Randy for 27 years, remembered that he, quote, loved people well, and that, quote, loving others was effortless for him. Nan Chastain met Randy while attending Young Life, and she remembers Randy as the definition of faithfulness. She said he was always there for anyone whenever they needed him. In short, Randy Storms valued every life. His wife, Susie, was also known for her great love and for care for others. On any given day, you could find Susie helping young women and teen mothers in need of encouragement and a listening ear. Sean Spencer, a longtime friend of the Storms, knew Susie to be the person of great strength and grace. Together, the couple invested in the lives of many married couples, both young and old, who were facing the trials of life together. Randy and Susie found joy in serving together and encouraging others. The Wichita community came to know the Storms as the folks who would show up to your kids' sporting events, high school graduations, and baptisms to celebrate what means the most in life, people. The Storms were also known as the folks who would faithfully show up at the darkest hour to lend a helping hand or to offer comfort for those facing serious difficulties. Randy and Susie Storms lived out the biblical teaching to love your neighbor as yourself and touch the lives of countless Kansans. My heartfelt sympathies go to their two children, Nick and Natalie, and their two grandchildren, Jack and Lucy. Randy and Susie were two very special people who will be greatly missed by so very many. This tragedy is a somber reminder that every day is a gift and we are not promised a tomorrow. May we learn from the Storms that what truly matters in life and what people around us are the people around us, and may their example spur us to love one another more deeply. I ask my colleagues as well as all Kansans to remember the Storms family in their thoughts and prayers in the days ahead. Mr. President, thank you for the opportunity to be on the Senate floor today to continue the chance to tell my colleagues about the issues of entrepreneurship and the global battle for talent, the opportunity to start businesses, and the challenges we face from other countries in competing in this global economy. From our nation's earliest days, entrepreneurs have been the driving force behind U.S. economic growth and expansion. Yet the state of entrepreneurship in America is not as strong as it once was. In today's global economy, an entrepreneur has more choices than ever about where to start his or her business. Over the last 2 years, at least 7 other countries have taken actions to better support and attract entrepreneurs. In the 2 years, the 2+ years I've been a member of the United States Senate, 7 countries have changed their policies, their laws, their regulations to be attractive to entrepreneurs, while we have not. This map shows those countries: Russia, Singapore, Australia, Brazil, Chile, Canada, and the United Kingdom. I recently shared what Canada was doing to attract more entrepreneurs, and today I'd like to share what's happening in the United Kingdom and explain why it's in our country's best interest to act quickly to retain highly skilled and entrepreneurial immigrants. Much like the United States, the UK has a range of visa categories for immigrants with varying skills and financial resources. But in 2011, the UK government made changes to simplify their visa rules in order to attract more talented entrepreneurs to their country. The UK recently created an entirely new type of visa for what they call prospective entrepreneurs. These individuals are allowed to enter the UK for a set period of time to secure funding and to start the process of setting up their businesses before they begin the traditional visa process. Raising capital can be one of the more challenging aspects of starting a new business, and this visa gives entrepreneurs a running start. The UK has also changed its top visa category, Tier 1, to be restricted to entrepreneurs, investors, and the exceptionally talented. Those entrepreneurs falling within Tier 1 category must have set up or taken over a British business. The initial investment in their companies can be as little as £50,000, given that certain criteria are met. By lowering the initial capital investment required, entrepreneurs can get set up and focus on running their businesses sooner rather than just raising more money. The UK has also revamped its Global Entrepreneur Program, which works to encourage innovative technology businesses to relocate to the UK. The program is aimed specifically at foreign entrepreneurs and offers a range of support to startups, from help in raising capital to providing mentors to offering networking opportunities with successful entrepreneurs. This program has helped more than 200 entrepreneurs and early-stage technology companies get established in the United Kingdom so far. And you can see from this poster, Sir Richard Branson is helping promote this program because he knows firsthand the value of entrepreneurship. Many people today know Richard Branson as the creator of Virgin Airways, but he got his start at the young age of 16 by successfully launching a new student magazine. Now, 45 years later, his investment group employs approximately 50,000 people in 34 countries, and its revenues in 2011 were around $21 billion. The UK's immigration minister said this about the country's recent efforts to attract more startup companies. Entrepreneurs and investors can play a major part in our economic recovery, and I want to do everything I can to ensure that Britain remains an attractive destination for them. Last year, we issued far too few visas to those who wish to set up a business and invest in the UK, and I intend to change that. That's the immigration minister of the United Kingdom speaking. And this is our competition. We in Congress and the administration need to take note of this. Other countries are aggressively courting entrepreneurs, and those talented individuals will not sit on the sideline with their good ideas. They will go to the country that welcomes them and set up shop. A story I heard while visiting Silicon Valley recently illustrates this point. A large company that was just a few years ago a startup itself told me they had plans to hire 68 highly skilled immigrants but could not get visas for them to work in the U.S. Rather than letting that talent go, the company hired them, but in a different country. While it's troubling to me that we lost 68 jobs because there was no visa for them, we lost those jobs here in the United States and the visa program didn't work to attract and retain them. What troubles me even more than that is that we know that someone, and maybe several of those 68 people hired, will go on to start a business that may result in significant job creation. Those are jobs that could have been created in the United States, but now will be created in another country. There is a global battle for entrepreneurial talent, and the United States is falling behind. When we lose those entrepreneurs and highly skilled immigrants, we lose the jobs they create. This is certainly about the entrepreneurs, but it's more about the folks who they will employ, folks here in the United States who are in desperate need of employment. The legislation that led to changes in the UK's visa law was drafted by Cambridge venture capitalist Alex Van Somrensen. Alex is aware that here in America that we have been recent efforts to attract entrepreneurs to our country, but the barriers to entry are still higher than in the United Kingdom. Alex said this in a recent interview he had with Business Weekly. We have beaten the American effort, and that is fabulous news for UK entrepreneurship. This might be good news for the United Kingdom, but it's not good news for Americans. I want to make sure that the first choice for entrepreneurs looking to start a company remains the United States of America, and Congress has the responsibility to make certain that happens. Bipartisan effort, Senator Warner, Senator Coons, Senator Blunt, and others, we've introduced Startup 3.0. We did this yesterday. An identical bill is being introduced today in the United States House of Representatives. Startup Act 3.0 makes changes to the federal regulatory process to lessen government burdens on job creators, modifies the tax code to encourage investment in new businesses, seeks to accelerate the commercialization of university, federally funded research that can lead to new ventures, and importantly provides new opportunities for highly educated and entrepreneurial immigrants to stay in the United States where their talents and new ideas can fuel economic growth and, most importantly, create American jobs. Startup Act 3.0 creates an entrepreneur's visa for foreign-born entrepreneurs currently in the United States, and those with a good idea, with capital and a willingness to hire Americans would be able to stay in the United States and grow their businesses. In many instances, foreign-born entrepreneurs here legally have an idea and want to begin a company that will employ Americans, but are told their visa does not allow them to remain in the U.S. With few ways to stay, these entrepreneurs are forced to move and to take their business with them, where they will create jobs in other countries. I want to make certain that America is the best place for entrepreneurs who want to build in America and hire Americans. Passing Startup 3.0 will help make that happen by creating new ways for immigrants legally in the United States to open a business and to employ our fellow citizens. People come from all around the world to the United States. They come to study and they come to work. They come to live in a place where they can have the freedom to pursue their dreams. The entrepreneur's visa would allow these risk takers to stay here and operate their businesses. Each immigrant entrepreneur would be required to create jobs for Americans, and if the business was not successful and the jobs were not created, the immigrant would have to go back to his or her own home country. While some immigrant entrepreneurs would fail, others would follow the path worn by many who came before them and succeed. Entrepreneurial immigrants have long contributed to the strength of our economy by starting companies and creating jobs. I can think of the Russian immigrants, for example, who are entrepreneurs in a sense, who came to Kansas and brought hard red winter wheat with them. What a true entrepreneur and immigrant entrepreneur that changed the face of our state. On the current Fortune 500 companies, more than 40% were founded by first or second generation of Americans. Not only are these immigrants entrepreneurial, but they are also disproportionately innovative. Foreign nationals residing in the United States were named as investors or co-investors in a quarter of all patent applications filed in the United States in 2006. Today, 1 of every 10 Americans employed in a privately owned U.S. company works for an immigrant-owned firm. While we work in the United States to continue educating our children with the skills for the 21st century economy and training the next generation of great American entrepreneurs, we also need to welcome those who want to create a business here in the U.S. and employ our citizens. I believe that 80% of my colleagues here would agree with the provisions of Startup Act 3.0. They understand that these are important issues for the economic growth and new job creation for Americans. And I urge my colleagues to pass what we can agree to now and keep working to find common ground on issues that still divide us. The longer we wait, the further we fall behind in this global competition for the most entrepreneurial immigrants. While the United Kingdom and other countries creating new opportunities for entrepreneurs, the United States remains the land of opportunity and the birthplace of the American dream. We need to pass Startup Act 3.0 so that foreign entrepreneurs can strengthen our economy, so that American businesses can pursue their dreams, so American businessmen and women can pursue their dreams here in the United States. Millions of our citizens, unfortunately, remain out of work. Many are underemployed. Our economy is barely growing. We can jumpstart the American economy through Startup Act 3.0. And the skills we need to pursue the American dream can be here in the United States, and we can strengthen our economy. Madam President, I note the absence of quorum and I yield the floor.
Without objection. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Alexander.
As this quorum call continues on the floor of the Senate, senators have been working on the nomination of former Nebraska Senator Chuck Hagel to be the next Defense Secretary of the United States. There are a couple of articles we wanted to point out. Dems lack 60 votes in the Senate to confirm Hagel as Defense Secretary. This is from The Hill today, and it says Senate Democrats will not have enough votes by Friday to confirm former Senator Chuck Hagel as Defense Secretary. Republican leaders in the Senate have told Senate Democrats they will withhold enough votes to prevent a 60-vote majority that would end debate on Hagel and allow a final vote. It's according to a Senate Democratic leadership aide. The move means that Hagel will not be confirmed until at least after the President's Day recess, and that he will not be able to travel to a NATO meeting next week where the Afghanistan war will be discussed. Retiring Defense Secretary Leon Panetta has pledged to stay on duty until Hagel is confirmed. And then also this from the Washington Post. Senate Republicans, this is a quote this morning, Senate Republicans have made it clear that they intend to mount a full-scale filibuster and block the Senate from holding a final passage vote on Senator Hagel's nomination. That's according to the Washington Post and said by Majority Leader Harry Reid during a floor speech today. Democratic aides confirmed that senior Republicans told them late Wednesday that GOP leaders had at least 41 Republicans to block the planned Friday vote. If, as expected, Democrats fail to muster the 60 votes needed to end debate and move to a final vote, it would mark the first time a cabinet nominee to a national security post had ever been filibustered. Leading Republicans, including Senator John McCain, have said they would drop the filibuster effort if the White House gives them more information about the actions President Obama took during an 8-hour siege at the U.S. mission in Benghazi, Libya, on September 11th. That attack killed the U.S. ambassador to the country and 3 other Americans. So negotiations continue behind the scenes, and the Senate is scheduled to be on break next week.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the quorum call be dispensed with.
Without objection, so order.
And Mr. President, I ask consent that I may be permitted to enter into a colloquy with my colleague from Maryland, Senator Mikulski.
Without objection.
Mr. President, we take this time in order to acknowledge the extraordinary accomplishments of the Baltimore Ravens and their victory in the Super Bowl 47, to honor the players, the coaches, the staff, and loyal fans who helped to secure the Ravens' second Lombardi Trophy in the last 12 years as the best team in the National Football League. Mr. President, I can tell you I have been a Baltimore football fan for as long as I can remember, from the days of the Baltimore Colts and Johnny Unitas and Alan Amici and Lenny Moore. But I tell you, I am so proud of this team. This team has guts. No one predicted them to win the Super Bowl. No one. No one expected them at one point even to get to the playoffs. They not only made the playoffs, but they won in spectacular fashion. They looked after each other, and they worked hard. Coach Harbaugh brought the team together. Ray Lewis, in his last season, motivated the team. We had players who were injured during the course of the season who came back to play in the playoffs. And the team represented Baltimore so well and represented, I think, the best in football. They not only gave our city and our football fans the opportunity to come together, and I was very much impressed by how Baltimore changed during Super Bowl week. Our city was so proud of our team and so proud by the manner in which they conducted themselves on the field and off the field. They gave back to the community in so many different ways. They've helped young people. They've helped develop the healthy lifestyles. They've been role models. And I tell you something, this Super Bowl will be remembered for a long time to come. I think in the first half we thought it was going to be a runaway, but, you know, the Baltimore Ravens have a way of making sure they keep the ratings high on TV. And it got a little bit more suspenseful, particularly when we had the blackout in the third quarter. But at the end, the Ravens prevailed. The Baltimore Ravens prevailed, and Baltimore is the championship city. And we are so proud of the accomplishments of our team. And whether we're talking about Ray Lewis or Terrell Suggs coming back from devastating injuries, or Ray Rice's amazing 4th and 24 scramble to keep our playoff hopes alive, it's clear that the Ravens were the most determined team in the National Football League. Unflappable Joe Flacco has established himself as a leader and one of the preeminent quarterbacks in the league. His most valuable player performance in the Super Bowl was a fitting capstone on an MVP season, and should prove once and for all that Joe Cole has what it takes. It has been thrilling to watch the Ravens this year, to say the least. It's in a season during which the team clawed and called the way to some close victories. The Super Bowl was a fitting end. The Ravens came into New Orleans as the underdogs against incredible odds, and they prevailed as the world champions. I applaud the team, the coaches, the managers, all that were involved, the owner. Thank you for giving not just Baltimore, but thank you for giving football a team that everyone can admire. And Mr. President, I also want to acknowledge the gracious way in which our colleagues from California have handled the results of the Super Bowl. The 49ers were a great team. They are a great team. And they played a great game and had a great season. We share a lot, Baltimore and San Francisco. We share a great football team. We share a bay. We call ours the Chesapeake Bay. They call theirs the San Francisco Bay. We share great seafood, and we share a love for the sport of football. I thank them for their graciousness, and I thank all involved for a great season for the Baltimore Ravens.
Mr. President.
Senator from Maryland.
I want to join with Senator Cardin as a fellow